here's why I didn't use the RS4 Pro and the Tilt-A-Ring on a job that we just had. So let's jump right into it. I want to talk about why I didn't use the Tilt-A-Ring, and I want to talk about what I built and why I built it that way. And obviously there's going to be caveats, there's going to be things that you could do differently. This is just what I did, and I have been asked about it, so I'm going to break it down. Start with why I didn't bring the Tilt-A-Ring. The main thing was packability. I only wanted to bring my think tank camera bag and my Pelican case, and I didn't want to have to check anything more than just the Pelican case. Well, this was becoming an issue in the Pelican case because I had the grid system in there, and I didn't want to take all of that apart just to fit this in there and then not have enough space for anything else. So yes, you can argue that this falls apart, this comes off, the bottom comes off, but there's also the issue when you're running this by yourself. You get in a lot of positions where, you know, this is not super comfortable all day, but if you ever go to, like, you know, shooting like low to the ground, this is also not very comfortable, you know, trying to operate, pull focus, do everything from there. And then of course you could take your battery handle and throw it in there and, you know, operate like so, but then you're still having to reach down unless you have an AC to pull focus or operate. And side note, if anyone knows a dummy battery scenario here, like is there a 3D printed version, or is there any way you can just, like, does anyone know if you can buy that? Let me know. That way you don't have to have this, because I power everything on here through the V-mount, which I actually do use a different plate for my V-mount. If you have questions about that, let me know. I can make a video about it. But that's why I didn't take that, was mainly the packability, and I use it for bigger rigs that need a lot more power options. First AC, pull and focus, monitors, tear decks, the whole nine, right? Well, I ended up building this, which works out pretty great for what I needed. I've got it all built out already, but you can see how quickly I can, like, break this thing down if I really wanted to, right? And so here's what I did. On the bottom we have the tripod legs. I don't know what DJI calls them. The tripod legs, which are great for if you just need to take a rest, and you can just set this down. Well, you could. The tripod legs that DJI makes, they just screw right onto the bottom of these little power plates. And so the one I have on the camera right now is the Tilta power plate, and it has one power in option, it's 2-pin LEMO, and then it's got the little safety attachment, which Small Rig also makes theirs. Difference with Tilta is there's a 1/4 on there. Small Rig has a NATO here and then a cold shoe mount here, right? And the difference with the Small Rig version is it actually has an in and an out for power, and then 2 NATOs on the side, which is really nice. But I ended up going with the Tilta. So on the Tilta, like I said, it does have one 1/4 on the side. I installed a Small Rig V-mount attachment, and all that does is just allows me to attach that V-mount. And then the tripod leg at the bottom acts also as a handle. Now, I don't like carrying everything on that 1/4 that's in the tripod leg, so I did also add a handle back here in the rear, which has a cold shoe mount, which accepts the monitor of your choice. And from there, like I said, I used a V-mount. The reason I did that, and specifically why I chose the Momin 99s, is they have 2 D-taps on the left and the right, and 2 USBs at the top. So what I could do is I could power the monitor, I could power the camera, which I'm filming on, or else it would be up here, and then I also can run a D-tap straight to the 2-pin LEMO and power the gimbal. And so this battery won't be able to do all of that. It can just power the gimbal. And sure, you can make the argument that that could go on there instead. We could lose the power plate and we could keep the V-mount, sure. But then I'm having to carry, you know, double the batteries, where the gimbal camera, and for what we were doing, we weren't using the gimbal camera as much as we were using our handheld cameras and our rigging cameras. And so this was able to power all day. The other thing is, if I take this off and then I take off my arm extension here, I can actually take this and I can put this on the car rig that we were running, and it would just attach straight to the power plate. And I didn't have to change anything about the power. I didn't have to worry about attaching to a single point where I have multiple attachment points here on the bottom. And both the plates are pretty similar. They have multiple attachment points. So instead of one and it hanging down low, I was able to get it right where I needed to attach multiple areas and also still power everything. So that's why I built this way, and it's super quick. I mean, you just real quickly, there's that. If you don't want a monitor, you're good to go. If you want your monitor or you want your extra arm, it's just like so. You're locked in. Good to go. This monitor, or this arm's a little bit janky sometimes. Probably because I use this thing so much. But anyways, there it is. And then like I said, if you need a rest, you just kind of take your thing, and there it is. So that's why I built this out versus taking this.